So guys, with a lot of the movements that people are doing in the gym or at home for their lower body workouts, they're mostly doing quad dominant things. So quadriceps are at the front of the thigh. Quadriceps are responsible for extension of the knee. So I've got a couple examples written down here. Squats, lunges, step-ups. These are all very popular lower body movements. And the thing they all have in common is they're very quad dominant, and none of them involve the hamstrings real heavily. All of them involve the hamstrings to a certain degree, but not very heavily. So like I just said, these are more quads. And the quads extend the knee, so there's more knee extension in these movements. So the hamstrings flex the knee and extend the hip. So these three movements here, squats, lunges, and step-ups, have less hamstring involvement, less knee flexion, and they do have hip extension to a certain degree, which involves the hamstrings and also involves the glutes. So hamstrings and glutes together flex the hip. When the hamstring, or when the knee is flexed, right here, I'll show you. When the knee is flexed, the hamstrings have less ability to extend the hip because they're shortened here, so it's harder for them to shorten at the hip also. When the knees are straight, like you would do like a straight leg deadlift, the hamstrings are extended, so the hamstrings are more involved in hip extension. So today I'm going to show you a few different movements you can do at home to strengthen your hamstrings. I'm going to go from beginner to advanced, and I'm only going to use two pieces of equipment here. So you don't have to have a fully equipped home gym to do these movements. You just have to have a couple pieces of equipment. First off, I got this tumble track here. I got this on Amazon for like 20 bucks or something. It's basically like a smooth sliding surface, and then it's got like a soft pad here that you put your feet on or your hands on or whatever on, and that's gonna have a good grip, and you can slide along the carpet for resistance. If you're doing something on like a wood floor or traditional gym mats, you could use a small towel under your feet. This just happens to work quite a bit better. And then I got a sandbag here. This is an Alpha Strong sandbag. You really can't tell, it's gotten a lot of use, and the label is pretty worn off on it, but this is the 80-pound sandbag. Really like this company. I really like this sandbag. I've had it for a long time. It's held up great. Some cheaper sandbags, you'll find the handles rip off or they start leaking sand eventually. I've had that happen to a couple of them. This one is going for like 9 years or something. Never leaks sand. I throw it down from my shoulder, so it's a great one to buy. You can also buy other cheaper ones if you're not too worried about the quality or you're not going to be throwing it down. So I got one 80-pound filler bag in here. Most sandbags come with multiple filler bags. I really like just having one because if it ever gets too crumbled up to one side, you don't have to unzip the bag and re-straighten the filler bags when there's multiples. You can just pick it up and drop it a couple times and it'll even out again. The one downside is that you can't take multiple bags out of it. Like if you had, let's say, a 90-pound sandbag with three 30-pound bags, you could easily just take one out and adjust it. But a sandbag's very versatile that you can, say if you got an 80-pound bag and you're not that strong yet, but you're planning on getting stronger, hopefully, you could load it with 50 pounds of sand, and then every couple weeks you could just throw a couple cups of sand in there or whatever. So it's very easy to progressively overload your movements. So enough talking, let's get into it. I'm going to go from easier movements all the way up to the hardest movements. For hamstring training, these will increase your athleticism, they will balance out your knee joint better, and make your hamstrings look good. Because who doesn't like to fill out a pair of shorts nicely? Alright guys, so first up, I'm going to do double leg hamstring curls on here. So I'm going to have my feet close together, they're both touching the pad. I'm going to straighten my legs out fully. For the beginner version, I'm going to keep my butt on the ground. I'm just going to pull back and then slowly come back down. Work your way up to about 10 to 12 reps, and then you can go to the more challenging versions. So next I'm going to do basically the same thing, except I'm going to have my butt off the ground. So I'm going to have my weight on my upper back, And I'm gonna pull back, extend all the way, keeping my butt and lower back off the ground. Next up, we can make it more challenging by going one leg at a time. So, again, I'm gonna keep my butt on the ground, pull back, straighten. You make this more challenging by pushing into the ground harder. So instead of just kind of relaxing your leg here and pulling it back, that's pretty easy. Push your heel into the ground, pull back, and it makes it quite a bit more challenging. And then of course, to make that more challenging, just like the double leg version, I'm going to lift my hips up off the ground, my lower back off the ground, squeeze back, lower slow. For this harder variation, I like to work my way up to a set of 8 or 10. Doing any more than that isn't really necessary, and it's just going to make your hamstrings more sore the next day. So 8 to 10 is a good number to shoot for to max out this movement here. So last up, using the slider here, I'm going to combine the sandbag and the slider. I'm going to put the sandbag on my hips, right in the crease of my hips. Lean back. And then I'm going to pull back and extend with the extra weight of the sandbag on me. Again, with that one, I like to work up to a set of 8 or 10. Next up with the sandbag, I'm going to do a stiff leg deadlift or a straight leg deadlift. The name's a little off. You do want to have maybe just like a slight bend in your knees. You don't want to have them all the way fully locked out, but just a slight bend. Have your quads relaxed. You're going to get the sandbag nice and close to your body, and then you're going to keep your spine neutral. You're going to bring your spine forward, but you're going to keep it neutral. So you're not going to round at the lower back or the upper back. You're going to keep it neutral. Sit back, slight bend in the knees, stand up. Lower back down slow. Should feel a good stretch in your hamstrings here. And of course, again, after that one, we can do a single leg version. So this one, you want to have your opposite leg, not your stance leg, your opposite leg, you want to have to kind of swing back as a counterbalance. And same thing, and keep the spine nice and flat. Stand up. Lower back down. Again, slight bend in the knee. Again, a good rep range to work for that one's 8 to 10. And last up, we have sandbag shouldering. So I'm going to show you a little bit easier version first and then a harder version. So the first version, we're going to get a little counter movement into it. So we're going to shift our hips back to get kind of like a pre-loading and get that stretch reflex into there. And then throw it up on our shoulder. So I'm going to kind of sit back, squat down, grab underneath the sandbag, chest up a little bit, looking forward and down. Good posture here. I'm going to stand up with the sandbag. Then I'm going to quickly shoot my hips back and throw it up on my shoulder. So again, reach down, good posture here, strong posture, feet nice and screwed into the ground. Stand up, throwing on the shoulder. Obviously, we're going to do both sides. So that I'll switch directions here too so you can see that. So you're kind of standing slightly back of the middle of the bag. So if this is right in the middle, you want your toes to about hit that middle part. Sit back, nice strong posture, load those glutes and hamstrings up. Grab under the bag, stand up, shift back, shoulder. Now the last variation here, we're gonna go right from the ground up to the shoulder. So there's gonna be no counter movement. Counter movement is gonna get your tendons and your elastic energy into it a little more and make it easier. So we're eliminating that right now. We're gonna put more stress on the muscle itself. So I'm gonna come down, good strong position, up onto your shoulder. Again. And then let's see it from the other angle one more time. Hips back, strong position, spine neutral, up to the shoulder. Really pop those hips through. Get a good extension on everything. Don't extend the spine too much. You're not leaning back. You're going from neutral spine, hips flexed, to neutral spine, hips extended. So there you have it, guys. A couple exercises you can throw in to work on your knee flexion and your hip extension. Shore up those hamstrings. Mix those up with your squats, your lunges, your step ups. Get your hamstrings up to snuff. You'll probably notice your knees start feeling better because that quad isn't super tight and overactive now that you're balancing out with a hamstring. And you might even notice that your hamstring tightness will go away. Because a lot of times your brain is telling your hamstrings, hey, this quad is super tight and strong here. We need to put some tension in that hamstring to balance out the joint. Because the hamstrings are weak, your brain's saying, hey, hamstrings, you're not as strong as the quads here. We need to stay tight all the time to keep that joint in balance. But if you got a good hamstring strength through full joint range of motion, knee extension, and hip flexion, that's going to tell your brain, hey, the hamstrings aren't being overpowered by the quads anymore. We don't need to throw down that tension in the hamstrings to keep the joint in balance because you're restoring balance to that joint. So, hope you guys add these into your program. Hope you're feeling better with your lower body, balancing that knee out, and as always, hopefully you're filling out a pair of shorts really nicely. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.